Right now, there could be a sound in your room that you can't actually hear, but your brain is actively panicking because of it. It's a frequency so bizarre it makes people see ghosts, feel overwhelming dread, and literally go chemically insane. What's up, everyone? Today we're diving into something called neurological infrasound resonance. Sounds super fancy, right? Like something a guy in a lab coat would charge you $500 an hour to explain. But honestly, it's just history's most terrifying accidental discovery. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night. You feel this intense, crushing weight on your chest. You're shivering, your heart is racing, and out of the corner of your eye, you see a dark, shadowy figure standing by your bed. You think your house is haunted. You call an exorcist. You put the house on Zillow. But what if I told you that wasn't a ghost at all? What if your house just has bad acoustics? To understand how science figured this out, we have to travel back to the 1960s to meet a guy who accidentally built a weapon of madness. Enter Dr. Vladimir Gavrilov. In 1964, this guy and his team of researchers moved into a brand new robotics lab in France. Everything seemed great until out of nowhere, the entire staff started getting violently ill. We're talking massive headaches, instant nausea, and a level of sudden, overwhelming anxiety that made them want to tear their hair out. At first, they thought it was a chemical leak or a biological weapon. But Gavril ran an air test, and the room was perfectly clean. Then he noticed something weird. The sickness only happened when certain industrial ventilation fans in the building next door were running. They did some digging and discovered that these massive pipes were acting like giant organ pipes. They were blasting out a massive, invisible, silent wave of infrasound, which is just sound that drops below 20 hertz, the limit of human hearing. Specifically, it was vibrating at an ultra low 7 hertz. Gavril got so obsessed with this silent sickness that he built a giant automated infrasound whistle powered by compressed air. The first time they turned it on, it actually nearly killed the team by physically vibrating their internal organs. Gavril discovered that if you hit the right low frequency, your body becomes the instrument. But Gavril only figured out the physical sickness. It took a modern day ghost hunt 30 years later to unlock the psychological horror. Fast forward to the late 1990s. A research engineer named Vic Tandy is working late at his medical equipment lab in Coventry, England. Now, this lab had a massive reputation for being straight up haunted. Cleaners refused to go in there. Staff members swore they felt a terrifying presence standing right behind them, and people kept catching glimpses of gray apparitions. Vic Tandy was a hardcore skeptic. He thought it was all absolute nonsense, until he stayed late one night by himself. Suddenly, he broke out in a cold sweat. A wave of deep, unexplainable depression and panic washed over him. He looked over, and a gray, formless ghost was literally standing right next to his desk. When he turned to face it, it vanished. Now, most people would have quit their jobs right then and there. But the next day, Vic, being a literal engineer, brought his fencing sword into the lab to clean it. He clamped the blade in a workbench vise, and suddenly the tip of the sword started vibrating wildly on its own. The air felt perfectly still, but the sword was shaking like crazy. Vic realized something invisible is hitting this room with insane energy. Vic brought in his acoustic gear and rediscovered exactly what Gavril had found decades earlier, but with a terrifying new twist. The newly installed extractor fan was creating a standing wave of infrasound at exactly 18.98 hertz. Why does that specific number matter? Because it's a cheat code to hack the human brain. The human eyeball has a natural resonant frequency of right around 18 hertz. When that 18.98 hertz wave hit Vic's eyes, it caused his eyeballs to vibrate just a tiny microscopic amount. His brain got confused by the blurred vision and tried to switch the image together, creating a gray, shadowy optical illusion in his peripheral vision. Even crazier, Low frequencies between 10 Hz and 20 Hz directly trigger the amygdala, the brain's panic button. The fan was literally forcing their brains into a primal fight or flight response. The second Vic turned the fan off, the ghost vanished. The dread disappeared. Once scientists connected Gavrill's physical sickness with Vic Tandy's ghost frequency, they realized this wasn't just a glitch in human engineering. Nature had been using this weapon for millions of years. Let's talk about tigers. Everyone knows a tiger's roar is terrifying. But bioacoustics researchers discovered that a huge portion of a tiger's roar drops straight into the exact infrasound spectrum, right around 18 Hz. When a tiger roars, the prey doesn't just hear a scary noise. The infrasound waves physically penetrate their body, vibrating their nervous system and triggering that exact involuntary panic response Vic Tandy felt in his slough. It literally paralyzes the prey with fear for a split second. That fraction of a second of induced madness is all the tiger needs to lock in lunch. So, how do you know if you are being blasted by the frequency of madness right now? Because infrasound waves are so long, they easily pass through concrete walls, steel, and miles of open air. In modern cities, they are absolutely everywhere. Diesel engines, wind turbines, old refrigerators, AC units, and even your neighbor's subwoofer can create a localized low-frequency buzz. If you've been feeling randomly exhausted, experiencing weird headaches, or getting that creepy feeling that you're being watched when you're home alone, it might not be stress, and it's definitely not a demon. Your house might just have a bad acoustics resonance. The human brain is an amazing thing, but it's easily tricked by the silent rhythms of the world around us. So, do me a favor. Tonight, if you see a shadow out of the corner of your eye, before you call a priest, try turning off your desk fan first. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. Drop a comment if you've ever felt the ghost frequency, and check out the links I've dropped below.